Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Let's take my glasses off because it's raining a little bit. Strange weather out here. We are here for the post-Christmas live stream. The video is called Stop Chasing Approval. Stop chasing approval and know your self-worth. That's what matters the most. We're gonna do question answer as you're joining on in. We've got some valuable stuff that we're gonna be going into here. Glad to be able to be here, by the way. What's up, Michael? Michael says, hey, Dark Sensei, what's up? Glad to have you in here. Yeah, so let's let some people join in. We're gonna say hey to everyone. What's up, Dana? What's up? I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Glad to have you in here. So here's the subject of our today's live stream is stop chasing approval. There's power in knowing your self-worth. A lot of the times we forget. A lot of the times we seek approval from other people and we don't even notice it. We're altering our behavior. We're altering the way we truly feel because we don't think we're going to be accepted. And this stuff roots really deep into early childhood, where if mom and dad don't love us, then we feel like we're going to die. We feel like we're not going to be able to survive. So obviously this is deep type of trauma that we all kind of are influenced by. And then the way that it translates as we grow older is we seek for approval. We seek for self-acceptance in others at the cost of being authentic to ourselves. And of course, that's never a healthy thing, because then we might bend who we are to fit in, to fit in with people that we don't really resonate with at our authentic level. And we don't want to do that. That's not the path we want. Wow, it's like kind of raining out here and it feels kind of good. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, we want to understand, what it means to be ourselves, what it means to be authentic. And we want to recognize when we are allowing ourselves to connect with the people that are right for us, and to be willing to let go of and potentially even have boundaries that are with people that are not meant for us. And that's completely okay, because you're not meant to connect with everyone. Not everyone is meant to resonate with you. You're definitely not meant to be a people pleaser. You're not meant to be friends with everybody. You're gonna have your unique tribe, your unique people that like you, that resonate with you. There's gonna be people that you resonate with more than others within your tribe. And it's very natural and it's very healthy. But as soon as you start bending yourself for other people, and you try to be liked by everyone, and you try to fit in, you're now seeking for approval, and you're not operating in your power. You're giving your power away, which means you're gonna be manipulated. Even if you think you're in control, you're gonna be manipulated. And you're also gonna be manipulating people too. And if you're manipulating people, then you're being manipulated, because what you're doing to others is what's happening to you. All right. Saying what's up to people in the chat. Join on in. This is a question answer format in this live stream. So make sure you're dropping down questions. Go ahead and check in. Let us know, what your name is and where you're from if you want to do that. Make sure you're slamming the thumbs up button as you're joining in. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit your notification bells. Get notified whenever we're releasing videos. You don't want to miss out. We are live right now. Saffron says, good evening, Universal family. What's up? Good evening. Michael says, what's new? On my way to work. Wonderful. Yeah, well, I mean, we're just hanging out right now, you know? We had a nice Christmas the other day, took it easy. It's the first Christmas I ever spent alone, completely alone, by choice. And it felt good. It really did. It felt good to honor my own energy and really just be there with myself. Flame says, what's up, Jared? What's up, Flame? What's up? Look at the birds we got right here. These are called ibises. Yeah. Lucy says, hello from the Pacific Northwest. What's up, Lucy? Well, glad to have you in here. Very cool. Shout out to Lucy. Jason says, you've been helping me so much from jumped to addiction. Love you. Play sure, never safe. Well, I'm honored to be a part of your process, and I'm happy to hear that I could support you and can support you through working through addiction. Addiction is definitely one of the hardest things to work through. There's no doubt about it. It's one of those things that oftentimes, you know, we go through a really rough experience in our life, a really rough set of trauma, and then we seek an escape. And that escape originally looks like a flood of euphoria and a flood of freedom. But if it's coming through the form of like an addiction of any sort, it always starts off feeling really good, like we're able to get away from it, and then it turns into a really unhealthy attachment. And then what used to make us feel good actually makes us feel worse and worse and worse. And it's not even worth it anymore. And we get so wired to be addicted to what it is that we are, that we almost forget what it's like to not be addicted. And the truth is that you being yourself, or you being who you actually are, feels better than any drug or any addiction is going to make you feel. But we have to kind of get back to that understanding. And it's a process of rewiring our nervous system that way and showing those parts of us that they don't need to attach in that way either. And that takes time. It takes time to heal that. Emil says, hi, Jeremiah. I wanted to ask, do you make distinctions? Give me 1 second. There we go. So you said, I want to ask, do you make distinctions between ritual and invocation? Because I think invocation is a form of ritual. Yeah, I mean, you know, they're exactly that. You can look at them both in that type of way, like being interconnected together, for sure. Melik says, hello, Jeremiah. What's up, Melik? Glad to have you in here. J-Man says, I love, what does it say? I love evil. Interesting. There you go. Harley says, what is this live about? So we're going to be talking about, you know, learning how to have more of a self-acceptance and not needing to seek the approval of others. And if you are, how can you really work with that and understand what's going on in your system? You know, because a lot of us can kind of get stuck in that. And that's something that requires, you know, work. It requires self-awareness. So if you have any questions that are in relation to the subject that's at hand, you're going to see it also as the title of the live stream. Please feel free to drop down in the live chat and ask those questions, because that's the essence of what we're going to be talking about. I want to help everyone kind of work through that. Geoff says, hello, everyone. Jeremiah, what's up, Geoff? Glad to have you in here. We're getting a nice little shower right now. Oh, it actually feels good. I don't know if you can tell, but it's kind of like raining right now. Vanessa says, hey, thanks for this message today. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for being here. Jason says, definitely is, bro, we made it. There you go. I love it. Goofy VR says, can you mod me? I would mod you, but I don't know you enough to mod you. So I think I need to get a little bit more trust from you to be able to do that. But we'll see if there's someone else in here that would be willing to do mod. Uh-huh. Flame says green flags and self-development. There you go. Beth says, hey, Jeremiah, thanks for all the lives lately. Much appreciated. You're a huge part of my process now. Patreon rocks. Love from Wales. Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm glad to have you here. There's tons of stuff that, we all get to go through together, sort of as a collective, when we do these live streams. In reality, we're hanging out, right? We're all kind of like, I'm going on a nice little walk, hanging out with a cup of coffee right now, and we're just chilling. So we'll just see what comes up. We have a subject we're going to talk about. That's like, an aspect of what we're going to go into, but there's all other types of stuff that we might go into as well. Okay, Melik says, how would setting healthy boundaries with authority figures who have an artificial sense of superiority while balancing your anger? So how do you set healthy boundaries with authority figures? Well, what you want to know is that, when it comes to authority figures and anyone that might be in a position of authority with you, like in a work setting, for example, if it's a boss or a manager or anything in that nature, or maybe even a parent that feels that way with you, at the end of the day, you need to have enough of a self-connection to understand where a boundary is right for you. So, in other words, you have to trust yourself to know when it's time to set a boundary. And that sometimes, what's the word I'm looking for? It takes time for us to kind of be with ourselves, to understand our intuition and to be able to connect with it better, so that we can know when it's time to have a boundary. Because obviously when we're talking about work, sometimes there's going to be people that are absolutely in positions of authority over us. And that's not a bad thing. It's just kind of what comes with it. And we don't want to necessarily respond or burn bridges that don't need to be burned because we feel like we're being taken advantage of. I think a lot of us get into these work environments that are absolutely reflecting certain trauma for us from our childhood. But sometimes we are really quick to pull the trigger. And what ends up happening is we try to create boundaries in ways that are not appropriate for the job environment. And then we end up getting fired or we end up losing our job. I know I've done that before. So we want to understand, okay, am I honoring my process? Am I creating a healthy foundation of my life on all other fronts? And from there, what is my intuition and my instincts truly communicating to me? If someone that's in an authority position is commanding me to do certain things in a certain way that really crosses a boundary with me and really upsets me, and it's something I don't feel is appropriate, then can I stand up for myself? Can I speak to this person in a way where I let them know, hey, I don't appreciate you speaking to me like that, or hey, you're crossing a boundary for me here. And try to do this in as respectful as a way as you can, and just have a conversation with them. And if it's not received, then you gotta do what you have to do. So you can be as respectful as you can, and if they're still not receiving it, you can be more firm. And if they're still receiving it, then you can go up to someone who's an authority on them and talk to them about it. And if you work for a company that doesn't respect that, then you might want to consider shifting your job. So it just kind of depends. But there's been many times in jobs where I've had to set boundaries. Yeah. I'll just say that. Good question. T-Max says, hey bro, what's up? Chevy says, hello, what do you think about 2025? Will we have peace? Are things going to get worse? No, it just depends on the person. Depends on who you are. Depends on how you're honoring your process and what that looks like. And for some people, it's going to be more challenging. And then for others, it's going to be, it's not that it's not going to be challenging, but it may not have as much catalyst. Just depends. Fukta says, do you feel that the elemental attributions of the pentagram have been messed with, like the flip tree of life? No, not really. Not really. Nicole says, yo, love your stuff. Lilith and Pluto in the first house, Scorpio rising. Respect you and the content you share. I love that. That's so cool. Thanks for joining in here. Emil says, reason why I asked this question because yesterday you made a video about how performing rituals opens us to energetic pathways. Yeah, it does. It does. Anything that's related to that level of spirituality is going to open up those doorways. For sure. Geoff says, I am doing great. I love that. And shout out to you, Geoff. Ahmed says, have you ever read the Quran before? No, I haven't. I have not read the Quran. Allah says, seems more wintry weather compared to yesterday. It does, but it's not really. It's still like fairly warm outside. The only reason I'm wearing this is because it kind of rained a little bit. But yeah, it's fairly warm out for the most part. And what else? Yeah, but it's definitely cloudy skies. For sure. I think it would be really cool if we could get some snow out here in Florida. There we go. We got a moderator in here. What's up, Summer? Glad to have you in here. T-Max says, is animal sacrifice effective in rituals? I mean, it can be. It just all depends on how you do it. Digital says, I've been going through your videos and I am open to going through with initiation, but I'm from Africa. There you go. Jason says, you have a brilliant knowing. Your knowing comes with courage and bravery. It's special because we just met. There you go. Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Saffron says, do you think it's normal to try and seek approval from yourself when healing? Okay, that's an interesting question. So in relation to the subject of our live stream, Saffron says, do you think it's normal to try and seek approval from yourself when healing? Yeah, I mean, so the goal is to it's not that you're seeking for approval for yourself. From yourself, I should say. It's just realizing that you can approve of yourself by loving yourself and embodying yourself again. Because naturally, as you start to return back to self-consciousness or self-awareness, real self, you're going to naturally approve of you because you're going to have an acceptance within your system. So you don't really have to seek it. It just naturally happens as you allow it to. And that's kind of where the whole process comes into play. Because, you know, our lifestyle matters. What it is that we're doing on a consistent basis, which is the foundation. Our education matters in regards to understanding how to feel through things and process things. And then just giving ourselves that time to be patient with the process. And we'll naturally start, you know, accepting ourselves more. We will naturally start accepting ourselves more. And the more we do, the more we will not need to seek for that unconsciously in other people. And it could look, I mean, it like when you go from a place of, having a rocky foundation and unconsciously, I want to highlight the word unconsciously, seeking for approval in others to love yourself, there's a huge energetic shift that takes place when you start to embody yourself again and you start to stop seeking for that approval. Like, you might notice a lot of your friendships and a lot of your relationships change. You might have been friends with people for so long that you start to fall out of resonance with because you realize the whole essence of that relationship was you seeking their approval in some way. And it can be quite shocking when you start to embrace that. But that's a necessary process. And you'll start just noticing like yourself is very different than, potentially the state that you've been in for a long time. And then I guess the question comes down to, why have you been attached to that state of seeking that approval in others? What are some of the driving factors to you choosing to attach to that? And that's always going to root back to your childhood trauma. And it's going to come down to fundamental lifestyle factors and the foundation around it. And once we start working through that childhood trauma and addressing the foundation, then the energetic space will start to come through to step more into embodiment, more into beingness. Jason says, yeah, but the will to go back, that's me. That task, what? Interesting. No Name says, hey, what's up, No Name? Glad to have you in here. Summer says, hit the like button and subscribe and turn the notifications on. Absolutely. Yeah, join on in and hit the like button. We're talking about some interesting stuff here. I'm not going to be on for too long. I just kind of wanted to touch base with everybody and see what's going on and see if we could cover this subject today. Nicole says, I notice I get a lot of shitty neighbor experiences. I realize it's from a time in early childhood where there was shitty neighbors and that the universe will show us again and again unhealed wounds. Absolutely. Yeah. We will totally, it's like, so this is so interesting about trauma and how this stuff works, but we literally, and this is so important to understand what I'm about to tell you. We literally have frozen parts of ourselves still living in the past. And those parts of us that are still frozen in the past are still resonating with the past trauma. So that's why in the present moment, we can, when we're not really working with our parts and we're not processing these things, it's like we can get pulled back into the past in the present moment. And it's like we can relive that trauma. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to get attached to it and unconsciously hold ourselves in the past. And the reason why we do that is because the past can be familiar, and we basically do it until we come into acceptance with the fact that we have to face it and process it and then eventually release it. So in other words, people will hold themselves in the past and they're going to live a very uncomfortable life up until the point they finally realize they need to feel through it and create a lifestyle that supports them in a healthy way, processing it and then releasing it. But people will live years on years holding themselves in the past because of some trauma that happened in the past that they are still not aware of, and they choose to attach to it unconsciously. So it's a really strange thing, but I can give you an example. It's like, let's say hypothetically in your past, you went through a huge traumatic experience where your parents separated. And then as a way of coping, you developed an addiction to substances. And that form of substance addiction started back then. And then from that day forward, all the way up until your adulthood, you're still an addict. And as you're an addict 20 years in the future, you're still living in that trauma from the past because you never processed the true emotional pain of the separation between your parents. So you could be 40 years old as an addict, still coping from a trauma that happened when you were 14. And as soon as you let go of that substance abuse and you start working with the parts of you that feel like they need to use that to escape the emotional pain, then you're going to actually return back to those core wounds of the vulnerabilities inside. And that will actually give you space to heal the root cause and release yourself from the cycle, to release yourself from being trapped in the past. And that's basically you taking that part of you that's still in the past and bringing it to the present moment so that it doesn't have to be stuck there. And that's the goal that we want to do within ourselves and with all of our parts. But this was just one example of how that can look. This can happen in so many other types of ways with so many different types of nuanced situations. All right. Summer says, hi, Jeremiah. Happy holidays. Glad to catch your live today. Absolutely. Glad to have you in here. Thank you. I love it. Emil says, what's your relationship with the number 47? Because I also have strong association symbolism and stories with those digits. Yeah, so for me, there's something definitely extraterrestrial associated with it. I'm still learning a lot about it, but there's something extraterrestrial associated with it. That's what I'll say. All right, so I'm reading through some of the live chats and everything. Let's take a look. So Beth Rendell says, do you feel that you have to stay completely with shadow work, i.e. tree of death, then move into the positive polarity, or can you do a bit of both at the same time? Yeah, it's totally intuitive. You know, you don't need to control it or focus only on one and repress the other. It's completely intuitive. And we're always, we're always connected to all that stuff. Phoenix says, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Merry Christmas to you as well and Happy New Year. I look forward to it. Phoenix says, my birthday is December 30th. Oh, very interesting. Hopefully I'll be in Egypt next year for my next birthday. Yeah, that'd be cool. I love that. Kyle K says, hey buddy, how's your day going? It's going good. You know, I'm just taking it easy. I can't complain. I really can't complain. How is your day going? Nicole says, love your knowledge. Thanks for sharing. It's valuable. Absolutely. I'm honored. I'm honored to hear that you're gaining value from it. Curtis says, I just have to thank you for connecting with us in this way. You are helping my life really change. Always so great to see you. Absolutely. I'm so happy. I like to be able to check in and see how everyone's doing and, you know, just covering some of these subjects. Seeing where we're at. Saffron says, I find it hard to nurture myself because I never got taught how when I was a kid, as the upbringing was emotionally neglectful. I'm finally in a good relationship and affection makes me feel unsafe. Okay. Love that question, Beth. I've been wondering the same thing. Yeah. So you said, I find it hard to nurture myself because I never got taught how when I was a kid. My upbringing was emotionally neglectful. I'm finally in a good relationship, and affection makes me feel stuff. Yep. And that's that nature of, you know, the familiar is sometimes what we label as safe, even if what's familiar to us isn't healthy for us. So a lot of us feel familiar with unhealthy patterns, and we will actually see unhealthy patterns and behaviors as being safe, when in reality, it's not true. It's just not healthy, and it's not safe for us. So it's part of rewiring our system to be able to experience the things that are really healthy for us and realize that we can learn to receive it. So in your case, it's receiving affection and showing yourself that it's safe to receive affection, because in your childhood, it wasn't. It wasn't something that you received, and affection wasn't appreciated. So that's a beautiful process that you get to be able to work through and recognize. I love that. Jason says, my day is going well. There you go. I love that. Awesome. The highest Gnostic says, you have helped me a lot. I wish I had lots of money to give you, but I will give you what I can. Yeah, well, I appreciate you saying that, and I'm honored to help you out as best as I can. And yeah, if you feel like you get value from whatever I do, I mean, that, you know, that is what that is. T-Max says, did you see my question? Yeah, I did. But we definitely want to focus more on the subject for the video today, the live stream today. We're talking about, you know, more so, what is it? Needing approval from others. Stuff that's more trauma related. So let's keep it more along the subject of what we're talking about. Ben says, hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, Ben. I appreciate you. You as well. Phoenix says, I like and subscribe. What a beautiful, beautiful spirit. Huh? Thank you. Thank you, Summer. I appreciate you as well. Green says, hey, man, do you know what happened with Nick McCool? Yeah, well, I'm not going to speak too much on it. But right now, me and Nick are kind of in a process of not really seeing eye to eye. And I don't really know exactly what's going on in his life, but that's about what I'll say. You know, we're kind of taking a step back from each other right now. And he's got his own process. I got my own process. Green says, all his socials and websites are gone, and I dropped the 3 on the Lucifer course. Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that. Interesting. Yeah, we'll have to see. I'll have to see what's going on with that. Mark says, the worst thing I've ever done is seek approval and speak about the occult with my father, which caused both of us to feel triggered. Yeah, it's seeking approval never usually ends in something positive. Let's just put it that way. When you seek approval from anyone, and a lot of times we're going to be doing this with our family members, it usually just does not end in a good way. Because you're never going to, if you can never approve of yourself and love yourself and accept yourself where you are, then how are you ever going to be accepted for who you are by another person? And that's another thing about it, is like when you're in a state of seeking approval, you're not being you. You're not yourself. So people don't even get the chance to actually get to know who you truly are. So if people fall in love with you for a version of you that isn't authentic, then you're creating space for people to resent you when you start to show who you actually are. And that's a really tough thing. That's a tough pill to swallow. You know, I've unfortunately been down that path several times in my life where I wasn't myself, and I formed relationships from that space. And when I started to be more of myself, it was like people started to resent me and try to get me back to the state of where I met them, when that's just not who I am. I evolved, I changed, I shifted. I grew. And they're not ready to grow yet. They're still holding on to that same energy. And the best thing that I realize when it comes to trauma and stuff, like with the family, and this goes for both my dad and my mom, for example, I've come to a point where I have to know what my boundaries are with them. You know, I don't overextend myself with them. I don't feel like I have to always answer them or pick up the phone or go to family events. And they know that. And I don't try to change them. I don't try to convince them. I accept them where they are. I can try sharing, you know, what I'm into, and if they don't resonate with it, it's okay. I just leave that where it is and take my space. And I think that's what matters the most. So yeah. And it's worked out quite well for me to heal through some of these family relationships by just accepting them where they are and not trying to change them, but just knowing what I want in my life too. Because I don't have to hang out with them. I don't have to talk to them if I don't feel like they're healthy, if I don't feel like they're right for my path. And that's good. That's a good feeling. It takes away a lot of false expectations and idealizations. All right. Saffron says, seeking approval with parents is so hard because you kind of switch into the vulnerable child again and risk walking away feeling rejected. Yes, that's actually a great thing you bring up. That's another thing about it is that, and this is what I notice, especially with my mom, not as much with my dad anymore, because I have done a lot of healing with that relationship. But with my mom, what I noticed is that my mom really sees me as the younger me still till this day. So even though I'm 29 years old, my mom still sees me as basically like the little 12-year-old, the little boy that is her son, right? So she treats me still as that younger boy and doesn't always give me the space to be my own person. And she wants to basically nurture me and take care of me in that same way when I'm very capable of taking care of myself. But it's the energy of it can make it very easy to fall into codependency. Because, you know, she obviously cares about me and I can sense her intention is good, but she's not giving me space to be who I actually am in the moment. It's like she's not really accepting me where I'm actually at and accepting that I'm no longer that little boy anymore. And that's her process to go through. I can't control that or anything, but I have to notice that for me so that I don't fall into codependency with her. Because she might want to support me or help me or do these things for me coming from that space, but I'm my own person now. I'm my own adult. I don't need her to treat me that way anymore or do those things for me. And it's my responsibility to basically show her that she doesn't need to treat me that way anymore. And sometimes the only way to do that is by taking space. So I completely know what you mean, because I found myself every time I would connect with her, I would fall back into this like younger version of me. And I'm like, why does this keep happening? And it felt like it was keeping me from being who I actually am at my core as an adult. And it took me a while to really figure out what was going on there. And then when I started creating boundaries with her, that's when I started realizing, oh, that's what was happening. So now I don't have to worry about being pulled so much into that energy anymore because I have so much more space away from her to understand I don't need to be dependent with her. And I don't need to be, because no one else treats me that way. You know, when I talk to all of you or when I talk to clients, people talk to me as an adult. But when it's my mom, she still sees me as that younger boy. And I think a lot of us experience that with our parents. So it does become important to really step into your adulthood, and to, once again, not be in a dependent relationship with your family. All right, so I am at a Thai food place, and I'm wondering if they're open right now. I'm just popping around, seeing what's going on. I think they're closed, actually. Let's see. Yep, they're closed. Interesting. What day is it today? Wednesday, Thursday? Okay. Huh. Interesting. All right, so looking down. T-Mac says, how about the desire for fame because of suffering and abandonment? The desire, oh, okay, I see what you're saying. So what about this desire for fame because of suffering and abandonment? Yeah, and that's a common response for a lot of people, is because I have a feeling of being abandoned and there's a lot of pain behind that abandonment wound. We think I'm unworthy. So as long as I'm famous, then I can get the attention that makes me feel worthy. It makes me feel like people love me. And then it gives you a false sense of it gives you like a false sense that you're never going to be abandoned again. But that's not true. You have to face that abandonment, and you have to process that trauma and those emotions behind it. So yeah, it's very common for a lot of people to seek fame or seek that type of social status from a place of unworthiness or a place of shame. And there's a lot of millionaires that are out there that completely have built their businesses from a space of shame, meaning their response to try to control their sense of unworthiness was, I'm going to make money, and now that I do that, I'm worthy. I'm worth something because I created this. And that's not healthy. Sure, is it healthier than turning to drugs and destroying your body in that way? Probably. But is it still unhealthy? Absolutely. And that's not, you can make wealth by being authentic as well. Emma's in the chat. What's up, Emma? Says, hey, Jer, made it to alive. Glad to have you in here, and shout out to you. It's always nice to see you. Summer says, welcome in, Emma. I love it. Gas Prices says, is Cthulhu a being you can work with? Sure. Why not? Beth says, I feel a huge sense of guilt from disconnecting from my parents. I had an okay childhood and they're not horrible people. Feels so wrong, but so right at the same time. Yeah. And there's been a lot of people that I've worked with that have had a really hard time understanding that their childhood trauma with their families even affects them. There's been people that I've worked with that are very in denial about it. And when we went into it and we kind of just touched on it, and then we started to go a little bit deeper, it was pretty cool shift to see them realize, oh my God, I didn't even notice that could have affected me that way. Sometimes we just write these things off and we pretend like it doesn't matter, but it really did, and it really does have an influence on us. But I think in your case, Beth, I think it's, listening to your intuition is what matters the most. You got to trust your intuition, and sometimes you have to trust your body and your sensations and what those signals are communicating to you. All right. And yeah, if you're in here, we got about 40 plus people in here right now. So make sure you're slamming the thumbs up button. If you feel like you're getting value from this live stream right now, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button. Definitely subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. We talk about all these wonderful subjects that are very important to look at. Thank you, Summer. Curtis says, wow, that is the same way I treat some of my kids. They're all grown, but maybe because around 12 or so for them, they were growing away from me parenting them and more into their own process. Yeah, for sure. That's awesome that you're able to recognize that and see that. Absolutely. Summer says, it's relatable. I had to stop speaking to my parents for several years as they were overbearing. Now they get the idea and it's a bit more balanced, but I still distance when I need to. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, and that can be such a huge step to take, is to have that pattern interrupt within the family dynamic. Because sometimes we just get so caught up in it and so used to it in the way that it is that we just completely disregard, how we're accepting unhealthy behavior. And then it takes a little bit of a pullback sometimes to reestablish a new pattern and to rewire our system and show the family that that's not what we're going to be accepting anymore. And then we get to approach it as ourself and in a more healthy way. So that's really cool. I love that. Curtis says, but because I experienced the beginning of the disconnect from them, when they were kids, I hung on to that, the same way of interacting with them. Yeah, exactly. And I'm not at that space yet myself. I don't have any kids, but I can imagine that when I become a parent, that's going to be something that's hard to work through, because it's your kids and you love them. They're like the most important things in your entire life. And sometimes it's hard to let them leave the nest and hard to not see them as that younger innocence and, and just letting them grow up into their own adulthood, letting them have their own boundaries, even if it's from, even if their boundaries are directed towards me. It's like, I want them to be their own person. And it's been really cool because I've been able to connect with several women specifically. I know one of them was my acupuncturist, and another one I actually did a tarot card reading with a couple months ago. And they both have children, and they're older ladies, and they shared a lot of their wisdom with me on their relationship with their children. And they basically said that for many years they were in like a codependent relationship with their children, and they were kind of not letting them grow up. And they shared with me that when they finally realized what was happening, they had to take a major step away from that role and just let them completely be their own person, which was really tough in the beginning because it almost feels counterintuitive. It almost feels like you're pulling back love, but it's actually one of the highest forms of love for another person, to let them be themselves and to let them live their life without you interjecting. And I got to learn wisdom from these ladies, and it was very different than my relationship was with my mom. So it was like, that's interesting, Caro Met Rage says, look at you go. Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. I thought I recognized your name. What's up, Courtney? Glad to have you in here. Mark 11 says, the kind of spirituality I'm into is Wing Chun crane style. Interesting. I feel that any philosophy resonates with Chinese martial arts depending on how it's approached. Some people do Chinese martial arts in a space of trauma. Yeah, for sure. And all of those little things can be quite valuable to do energy work and that kind of stuff. I know for me, martial arts was huge. I did martial arts for only 6 months, and in that 6 months, I learned a lot, And I do plan on getting back into it when I have some more time and energy. Caducia says, how can someone gain his or her worthiness back after suffering complex trauma? Thanks. Yeah, that's a great question. And complex trauma is one of the most common forms of trauma. And, you know, it's a slow process of gaining your self-worth back. It's going to come down to the basics of, you know, recognizing the trauma that you went through, sort of working with the parts of you that are still living in that frozen time frame, being willing to feel the emotions and the sensations and visit the memories from that time frame while adjusting your lifestyle and the foundation of your lifestyle to support you doing those things. That is the basic formula of how you're going to gain your worthiness back, your sense of self-acceptance, because those wounds gone unresolved are going to cause you to do things and attach to things. I would say coming from a space of trying to avoid the wound. And as you're avoiding the wound, you're not being you, because that energy is important to process and integrate. And it's a part of you. So that's like the basic general formula of it. And of course, if you're looking for more individualized support through that process, I would be honored to work with you. And for any of you at that matter, if you look at the second link in the description below, that's where you can book one-on-one calls with me, or you can jump into mentorships if that's something you resonate with. And I'd be honored to work with you directly. Saffron says, fame can be tricky because Demi Lovato went through something similar but found herself in a cycle of addiction when she was in a hotel room all alone after concerts. Oh yeah, and that's so common. There are so many celebrities that have fallen into that and are currently in that right now, 100%. It's probably, you know, that's a really hard thing to go through. You know, I like to kind of look at like Justin Bieber as an example. Like, you know, he's been through a lot in regards to his fame and his reputation, like being such a young kid and being so popular and so famous. And then, you know, later on, you know, he's going through some huge changes and he's seeing things that he may have bypassed when he was younger. And he just, you know, you can tell he wants to heal and he wants to be himself. But when you get so involved with being a celebrity and being at that status, it's not as easy as you think. It's oftentimes a lot of unwanted attention on your life. I mean, imagine that. Imagine you being a kid growing up with a celebrity lifestyle. And then as you get older, you realize that you just want to be yourself and you don't even know what that means yet. And then you have the entire world who sees you in a certain way. And then they idealize you and they don't give you privacy to kind of go through that process in a way of respect. Man, that's gotta be tough. That has gotta be tough. So Raph says, do you have visions of other magicians you shared past lives with? And do you recognize them today or haven't found them yet? Have you met anyone from past lives? Yeah, I've met people, for sure. For sure. Emma says, after this live, I'm making my coffee and I'm about to talk your ear off. I love it. Well, I really look forward to our conversation, Emma. You have literally been one of the most supportive people that I have connected with, to be quite honest. And I'm so grateful for you. And I look forward to our conversation, as always. And cheers all the way down to Australia. And I'm also happy to hear you had good holidays as well. All right. Let's see. Beth says, do you feel our parents pass on some of their karma to us? Is this part of some form of ancestral soul contract? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, our parents absolutely pass on some of their karma to us. It's the nature, it's the nature of ancestral trauma. And is that part of some ancestral soul contract? I mean, yeah, you could say that, I guess. Do I believe that there's a higher order to everything? Yeah. Do I believe that there's free will to make choices? Yeah. Do I believe you deserve to take on everything that your parents are unwilling to work on themselves? No. Do I believe that sometimes you take on more than what you want? Yeah. That's kind of my perspective on it. Saffron says, do you think our need for approval can spill over? And I want to just say this real quick. I appreciate everyone who's staying on topic, in regards to trauma and the topic of our live stream today. I really appreciate that we're all, on that topic and those types of things. So thank you. Do you think our need for approval can spill over into how we work with our deities, like we try to seek something in them we feel we do receive from ourselves or others? 100%. And that's kind of like the essence of what I've seen throughout my experience working with the occult. I've seen it in my own process. I've done it myself. And I see a lot of people, I would say the majority of people that would identify themselves as practitioners and occultists. I would say a lot of them, majority, are actually projecting unhealed trauma onto entities and are sort of creating warped ideas around what these entities are actually representing. It's a majority of people that I've seen. Now, of course, there is a subclass of people that are really connecting at a deep level and pairing it with trauma healing. But I would say it's probably like 5% compared to the 95%. And what I also notice, and I made a whole video on this subject on my Patreon, is that a lot of people that also go into ritualistic practices of invocation and summoning and that kind of stuff, contact with extraterrestrials, a lot of people are actually they're communicating with parts of themselves and they're not necessarily aware, and then they associate the part of themselves with the totality of the entity they're talking to. So in other words, what I mean by that is a lot of people are confusing their own fragmentation for being the essence of the entity. And it's not an uncommon thing that you may have parts of you that play roles in your communication with entities, but there's a huge difference from understanding your parts and where your parts are, and then the entity that you're actually communicating with. Because you can communicate with entities from yourself, and you can communicate with entities from parts of you too. So if a part sort of overrides your nervous system, and then it starts talking to an entity, and you're not even conscious that that's what's happening inside your own system, that part of you is going to be filtering the information from the entity in accordance to what that part wants to do. And I would say most of the times the parts of us that do that are protective parts that are just trying to keep us safe, but are protecting us in ways that are unnecessary. And this is why you can deal with a lot of people in the occult that have a whole bunch of unnecessary bullshit that they have to do to always cleanse themselves and protect themselves and all this stuff. And I would say it's mainly because they're not aware yet of their fragmentation and their parts, and they may be confusing the entity with their parts. And I speak from personal experience. I've done that before. Because what a lot of people don't know about your own parts of you, fragmentations, they're literally like entities inside of your nervous system. They have their own personalities. They have their own biology within your body. They have their own beliefs, their own thoughts. And we have multiple parts of us, all existing within yourself. And then amongst all of your parts, there's a you in the center of it all. And that's what we call your central self. And that's like your most authentic self, so to speak. But it's a journey of integrating this so that you can recognize when you're in self energy, and you can recognize when a part of you is starting to blend with you, and you can sort of differentiate your different parts between the protective ones and the more exiled, vulnerable ones, etc. And if anyone wants to go deeper with that, with this type of study, definitely look into my Patreon. First link in the description below. I've got all that exclusive content over there that goes into depth with that type of stuff. Everything you need to know within occultism from a trauma-informed lens. And we even have the ritual that's coming up this month. Today's the day I'm going to do the mass reach out for everyone. But if you want to participate in this monthly ritual, which is on the 29th, the deadline to sign up is the 28th. And it's an energetic transfer from me to you to initiate you into some of the deeper layers of your own unconscious. All right, so if you're committed to doing that type of work within yourself, definitely look into it. It's going to be tier number 3 or 4 of my Patreon. First link below. Emma says, as parents, our role with our children should grow with them. As an adult, I didn't need my parents to parent me. I just needed respect, love, and support. Absolutely. That is very understandable, and I think that perspective is very important for a lot of parents to have. And I can look at my relationship with my parents too, and that's what I needed. You know, that whole, and this is something I guess we're all learning how to grow out of as we kind of move into a new earth, you could say. We're moving out of codependency and that energy of just like having to attach in a way that's just not healthy. So I'm going to read that off one more time so everyone can kind of hear it. As parents, our roles with our children should grow with them. As an adult, I didn't need my parents to parent me. I just needed respect, love, and support. Absolutely. Absolutely. Summer says, let's get the likes up to 47 during this live. Share the live with anyone who would benefit from this knowledge. There you go. Yeah, so if you're in here and you're getting value, go ahead and slam the thumbs up. Like the video, engage with it, leave some comments, drop down in the live stream and leave where you're at, where you're located as you're listening to this, interact with other people, all that fun stuff. Looks like we got a super chat as well. I'm going to check that out. Mark says, for me, I got myself signed by a modeling agency. In my second fashion modeling account, I expressed my witchy stuff, showing the aspects of entertainment industries. I did scare off 4 followers. I did have, yeah, for sure. Yeah, my followers go up and down all the time. And I can understand. I'm a little bit wild. One day I'm this way, the next day I'm a little bit this way. I can get it. But the people that resonate with me, they're there, you know? They're in it for the long haul. All right, we're getting some super chats. Very cool. So let's check it out. Nikki Grimm says, I appreciate all of your impeccably timed vids. Wonderful. I'm honored. Thank you, Nikki. I love it. Thank you for the super chat. It means a lot. I'm so glad to hear that it's been, that word almost got me caught up. Impeccably timed. I love it. Thank you so much. That's so cool. Oh, I see we got Linda in the chat. What's up, Linda? Linda says, hi, Jeremiah. Hey, everyone. Great topic. After spending a lot of time with family during the holidays, this topic resonates. So easy to fall into old, unhealthy patterns with close ones. Yes, it is. And guess what? You know, it's funny. I think a lot of people are resonating with that, especially right now after the holidays when most of us have spent our time with our families. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that really did need to hear this message today. And of course, not everyone's going to resonate with it because not everyone's in an unhealthy relationship with their family. But I would say a lot of us are. But glad to have you in here, Linda, and shout out to you. All right, let's see. So Nicole Ashley, I see you left a super chat. Let's take a look. Oh, I love it. Thank you, Nicole. That means a lot to me. I appreciate that. You paid for my coffee. Oh. I feel very blessed to have such an awesome community. And I really do hope all of you know that. I'm so thankful. And I really am excited to keep growing with all of you and sharing my life and sharing my experience and, doing what I can to offer as much value as I can. All right, continuing on, let's see. Muna says, hi, Jeremiah. What's up, Muna? Glad to have you in here. How are you, brother? I want to learn everything from you. I'm doing wonderful, actually. And, hey, well, I'm glad to have you here. Glad to be here. Arjun says, hello, bro. What's up, Arjun? Uno says, hi, what's up? Frank says, dude, that was deep. Yeah, it is. You made it right in on time. Jenna says, I wish I had your jawline, brother. Yeah? Let me think. There's ways to develop it. I think probably the best thing you can start building up your jawline is, what do they call it? It's a certain type of mastic gum. If you look at mastic gum, there's a company called Gum of the Gods. That'll build your jawline up. Lucy says, I'm planning on joining your Patreon soon. Wonderful. Glad to hear that. Night Sun Tarot. What's up, Night Sun? Always glad to have you in here. Shout out to you. We got the YouTube family out here. And if anyone wants to join the family, join the memberships, I mean, we're all a family, but if you want to kind of be more recognized in the community, definitely become a YouTube member. Your name's going to appear as green. You're going to have a badge next to your name. It's going to be easier for me to kind of see you as, a community member. It's just a fun space. So once again, that's the third link below. What's up, Alistair? I look forward to our call coming up. Saffron says, I am aiming to sign up for a mentorship with you next month as a day investment for myself. I've been a practitioner for 20 years, and the longer I practice, I realize how little I actually know. Isn't that funny? And yeah, I look forward to potentially connecting with you in the future. And I'm noticing the same thing. The longer I practice, the longer I immerse myself, the more I realize, oh my gosh, I am a student to so much. Elias says, I'm always concerned my questions would be too controversial for the chat. Maybe once I sub to the Patreon, I can ask it. Yeah, or maybe you could try and ask your question. We'll find out. Take that step. Take that courageous step because, hey, if it is too controversial, then we'll just let you know. If it's not, then you get it answered, right? Alistair says, I don't know whether I resonate with you or not. All I know is I'm going to keep watching your videos. Maybe I'm stubborn, maybe I'm dedicated and just need breaks. For sure, yeah, and you're not supposed to always resonate with me. I don't think anyone is supposed to always resonate with me. And I think it's very natural and healthy that people will phase in and out of my channel and my content. And there's going to be times where people are more paralleled and kind of are consistently watching through. And then it's going to be balanced by times where you need to step away. And I'm always very open to that. I don't want to make content that is solely designed to hook you and turn into an addiction. I want to release content and offer value as much as I can, but the core place that it's coming from is I want to offer that value. There's a lot of YouTubers, especially in the space of like, what's the word? Yeah, just I guess different spaces. Not a lot of them are in the spiritual community, but there's a lot of YouTubers that base their whole content on retention and hooking the viewer, which I can understand. But at a certain point, it's like, ugh, something about that just doesn't feel right. It's like, what is the energetic effects of making content that is specifically designed to hook your attention and basically create an addictive attachment? It doesn't seem right. And I can imagine people that approach it from that space are not really happy. Sable says, I've been watching on my TV, just wanted to come in and show support. I resonate with your videos and have gained so much from watching and remaining open to receiving knowledge that is beneficial. I love that. And I'm always so happy to hear people like jump in and say, hey, and sharing what it is that you have been learning. It's always an awesome thing to see and hear that. So thank you, Sable. Beth says, can you talk more about the new Order 47, which you mentioned previously? I think it was called that. Sounds exciting and transformative for sure. Yeah. So I mean, I can't sit here and say I know exactly what it's going to look like, exactly how it's going to pan out, because I'm changing so much that I can imagine if I was to speak on it as if I know exactly what it's going to look like, it's not going to be truth. So I will say this. There is absolutely no doubt going to come a time at some point in the future, I would say more so the near future, where I start transitioning to more live in-person events and seminars. When that time comes, I'm going to form more so of an inner community that we can basically come together in person. So that would be basically the starting stages of an inner in-person group. And I look forward to that time, and I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet, but that time will come for sure. So a lot of you that are here now that are really in resonance with what it is that I do, and maybe some of you that feel like you might play a role in regards to, sharing this type of healing process with other people and that kind of stuff, you may feel led to meet me in person with a group of other people that are like-minded, and we can all come together and grow together. So that will absolutely take place 100%. And I know it's going to come together in a very organic way, and there's going to be a purpose behind it. But the more that I try to attach to what that looks like and how that's going to happen, the less it's going to actually happen. So I just have to take it one step at a time, see what's coming up for me, and just keep moving in that direction. But it's going to be very influential. It's going to have something to do at a very deep level. Let's just put it that way. Saffron says, we are all so blessed to have you too. I felt such a plateau in my life until I found this channel, and your content has awakened something in me that makes me not want to give up. I love that. That's awesome. Nicole says, you're welcome. Wonderful. Okay. Very cool. We got such awesome stuff going on here. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So we've been going over the hour mark now. I think we've covered some really great subjects. We've definitely covered the subject of the video title today about seeking approval. what that roots itself into, how we can actually go through a process of resolving it. And I think we covered all of those things. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap it up here. I've had a great time with all of you. I want to thank all of you for showing up and asking wonderful questions. I want to thank everyone that left super chats. I appreciate that very much. Everyone that was active in the chat in general, I always appreciate that. Thank you to all the YouTube members for being here. Shout out to the YouTube members. And thank you, Summer, for being a moderator today and really making sure that the community is operating in a healthy way. And you know, it's so funny because you and Nikki, Dark Light Fire, have been my moderators. And it's so funny because it's like when Nikki's not here, you're here. And when you're not here, Nikki's here. So it's just funny how that works out. But other than that, once again, I appreciate all of you. I've had a great time here, and I hope you all have had a great holiday season as well. And I hope you continue to as we move into the new year. But with that being said, definitely check out the Patreon, the first link below. If you want to work with me one-on-one, that's at the second link. And if you'd like to join the YouTube memberships, that's in the third link. But with that being said, I will catch you all in the very near future. Goodbye.